So this year, Tavshin Pay Base 5782. So it corresponds to the 12th chapter of the 20 chapter original Maamer BASI legani. So they printed the contras of the other corresponding years, which was what we're learning now, 1962 and 1982. So first we learned the 12th perek of the Fidig Rebbe's Maamer. Yeah, it's right in front of you, the contrast there. So the Perek base follows Perek Aleph. Perek Aleph spoke about that for the foot soldier, in order to bring about the ultimate victory, we're talking about a battle where the very realm is at stake. So then the king himself throws himself into the battle, and all the oitzeres, all the treasures that have been stored and no eye has seen and concealed for generations. So this is all, as it were, squandered without cheshbon for the soldier on the front line to bring about the victory. So this is the big oitzer Lamaila that is given to every year now in our generation. To understand this now is Oishud base. He continues. It's a Lamaila. To understand what this means, the oitzer, the heavenly oitzer that is given to every year. It says in Zoyar, Ein Sof, the infinite one, the Maila adin Ketz, or the Mat adin Tachlis, is above without end and below without literally fathoming, which seems a somewhat convoluted way of saying infinite. No beginning, no end, above and below. But it's saying much more than that, because it's talking about, as it were, the reach of Ein Sof and the nature of the Ein Sof, as he'll explain. That which he says, the Zohar, that Ein Sof is below Adin Tachlis without end, also without fathoming, without end. The Tachlis is an end, an end goal. The intent is that the Gilo in his Pashtus, as I explained in a moment, the Gilo in his Pashtus itself, the revelation, is infinite without limit at all. As opposed to what we'll see in a moment. That's the meaning of the Shem Oir Ein Sof. The Oir is Ein Sof. Not only the source. In other words, it's conceivable that the source is boundless, and the source continues to produce Gvul and Gvul and Gvul and Gvul and Gvul. Another number, another number, another number. Each number is Gvul, just endless numbers. That's not the case here. Here, the Oir that manifests from the Moir, which is bound up with the Etzem, the Oir itself is Bli Gvul, which he goes on to say. The Oir itself is Bli Gvul. The reason is, Oir is not simply something that the source produces, so the source can produce something finite. That's not it. That's not it. That's not what Oir means. Oir is Me'ein HaMoir. Oir expresses the source itself. It's expressive of the source, as opposed to something that the source produces. Hence, this is the mile of Oir. The Oir imshu ha'ora levad v'loy etzem. The number 6. Tell him to come in. Maybe he doesn't know what to do. So even though the Oir is only a reflection, I mentioned to you that it's a bit of a debate amongst I don't know if there is a debate or not, but I had this debate with Rabbi Meir, about the nature of Oir B'chlav, and Chassidus speaks of Oir. He was saying it means, just literally, there's a source of light and there's rays emanating from the source of light. I don't know if we're saying so different, but Akopanim, more accurately, that's the classic way. There's the strahl, the rays that come from a light source. But Oir is really simply, Same thing. Looking at anything. What are you looking at? How do you see it? Because light is bouncing off it. Light is bouncing off it and then enters your eye. And why do you see the object? The object is there. And why are you seeing it? Because the light, which is still a mystery in science, there's different theories as to what light is. But the light is me'ein hamo'ir. The light conveys an accurate depiction of the object, what you're seeing in your mind's eye, or the camera. Camera is here, the mountain is there, and you click, and how did the mountain get here? Because light travels from the mountain and enters into the camera lens, which is imitating the eye in a very much less sophisticated way, and the image is produced in the mind or on your phone. So it's me'ein hamoir means, and it's bottle. It's nothing other. The image that you see is nothing other than the object that it is traveling from, literally. I mean, it's physical oil. It's physical light. It travels at a certain speed, 186,000 miles per hour. Speak to the guy. Talk to me. Pull and push the door. Pull and push the door, tell him.
Pull and push the door.
Oh, in that case, no, stop ringing. So the paradox of oil is that the image in your head is nothing but a ha'ora. It's not the thing itself at all. On the other hand, it's a completely accurate, if there's nothing disturbing, a completely accurate depiction of the mo'ir, of that which the light is bouncing off. So, in the words of the mind, the light is like the mo'ir, the source of it. The image in your head is the object. This is the mile of oil. It's only a reflection. It's not the thing itself. That's its mila, notwithstanding that it's merely an image, but it's a faithful image or an addition of that which is an image of. Now comes the nikud of oil to explain the diak of the tikkun zoyar. Here, the Maimon does not separate, doesn't distinguish between mo'ir and atzmus, even though elsewhere, obviously, there's a distinction. Mo'ir must reveal. The Eibush does not mukhrech. The Eibush doesn't have to reveal himself. In fact, the whole notion of revelation is the first big revolution. Revelation implies otherness to something, and whatever level that is, that's the first big revolution, the bechira of atzmos to create. Began with, in the creation period, began with the notion of oir, of revelation. So elsewhere, this distinction is drawn between atzmos and moir, but here he doesn't, because atzmos chose to be a moir. So it's an atzmisdik choice, transparently so, not lost at that darge. This is bechirus atzmus. So they're indistinguishable for our purposes here. Since atzmus, the Eibush himself, as pshitos, defies all definition. And truly infinite, it doesn't differentiate. Therefore, the oil that emanates from him, which is me'en hamoed, like him, is also truly infinite. So it's the expression of his truly infinite being.
It seems like the mother, its infinite quality is in its quality, that it's pshitos. It could be anything, where it's not bounded to be taking any seer or anything.
Pause button. It could be anything. It could be nothing.
It could be anything. It's not defined by.
It could be nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's beyond. It could be. Yeah. No.
Whereas the third definition is more in its quantity. The mailading ading sefer mataret takos, mailading case of mataret takos. It's not that or am I missing?
We haven't, it's too early to draw a conclusion, right? No, he's not saying that. He is saying that the Oir does faithfully express the truth of Atzmos.
Even in the Pshitas of it?
The Pshitas, the truth of Atzmos is the Pshitas of Atzmos. Pshitas means divested of any definition. That's the best we can say. And we have to say it because since the Eibishter revealed himself in the end in a way that there's language to it all, dargis, etc., then he wants us to appreciate in our language the pshittas of it all. Even though it's all mitzad the pshitas atzmos, before that there's no language, there's no pshittas wouldn't apply even. Even the term pshittas wouldn't apply. But since he was boicher to be moir and to reveal himself, then pshittas does apply. That's his choice. Ultimately, it's his choice, but it's an atmic choice. So I emphasize that this level, there's no other. This is Eibishter, period. And pshittas is the appropriate term. It's the first appropriate term. The first term is bli gvul, which means really nothing we could define. It's a complete negation of any kind of gather, but it still is language. Pshittas is saying something, as opposed to not pshittas. True, but that's Atzmos' the Eibishter's essential choice. So that's now how that's him. And that's how he wants us to know and appreciate his Atzmizdika self. Now, since the Oid is Mein HaMoed, this truth is carried all the way into creation, as you'll now explain. The Matamat Adin Tachlis. How so? It's a big chiddush that at the greatest descent, this truth of Pshitus Atzmos is carried by the Oid. He'll explain. So first a statement. So V'liyeh Sha'atzmos, somebody has a place, yeah. V'liyeh Sha'atzmos, so b'pchinas Pshitus Atzmos is completely poshet, means divested of, simple, divested of all definition. Or b'chinas Ein Sof, Lachein, therefore, his chosen desire to reveal, Shur Mein HaMoed, which is a faithful revelation of him. B'chinas Ein Sof, his revelation is also Ein Sof. And this is what the Zohar is saying, that Oid Ein Sof, quote, he's explaining that the Oid Ein Sof, the Oid itself is Ein Sof, not just the Moed. Again, an infinite entity can produce finite things, like endless numbers. Each number is finite, another one. I'm not saying that. We're saying that the Oid itself is B'chinas Bli Gvul, which he'll now explain. And where? Even Lamata. Where do we see this? From this Oid, meaning to say, the Pshitas Oid, at the highest level. So this Oid creates infinite Oilemus without end, and completely different than we know infinite. When we say infinite, we're talking of numbers, another one. It's not that. A number is a number. It's just endless string of numbers. Here, it's not endless string of Oilemus. Here, each Oilem Svir is bligvul. So the bligvul quality is carried in everything that the Oid Ein Sof creates. Not just Ruchni, but we'll see even Gashmi. All the way down to Lamata Mata. But first he talks about the Oilemus Ruchni. Lifnei Tzimtzum. The Vad Zeshem bligvul b'misporam. So meaning to say, in addition to the fact that they're endless in number, or Kamaimer, the Pirish in Svidis Ein Ketz, as the statement in explaining the endless Svidis that the Eibishter creates, Lifnei Tzimtzum, meaning Shasvidis Atzman Heim Bligvul, the Svidis themselves are infinite, Lavadshim B'mispar Bligvul, in addition to the fact that they're infinite in number. Kedisa B'dizut, like it says in Idizut, which is a part of the Zohar, Kahai Butzina, like this flame, is pashet l'chol soter, it spreads to all sides of Iver and directions. And when a person looks at it. All he sees is the flame itself. Meaning, he translates, it's kanera zesher oirim isnoitis the whole over pina. Maybe, yeah. It's like that light that spreads to every direction and corner. And when you look at it to know it, all you see is the flame itself, even though it is in different places and different directions. And now he touches out. Since the oil is divested of and is portioned, that's why he can manifest endlessly. That's what the Zohar is saying in this last quote, this Pasha L'chol Soter. The Iver is the Iver to every direction. So on the one hand, it's manifesting in every direction, and they're different. North is north, south is south, up is down, up is up, and down is down. Avalimitose said when you look closely, even though it's in different directions, it's all the flame. It's all one. Unto you are one, and not reckoned in the cheshben of the numbers that you produce. In other words, each number conveys your oneness. Each of the numbers conveys your numbers. The Yosef, we'll see how Rebbe's beautiful. I didn't learn it. It was too much long by bottom in this thing. The Yosef, and since the Abish is essentially one, is galos. So when he's revealed, what's the Zayah saying? Means that when he is revealed, his revelation itself is not a counted, a measured one. On the one hand, there's this tremendous different revelations, but the truth is it's all one, and each aspect of that revelation, the Pneumius expresses his wonders, and it's the Pneumius infinite. Further beer, which is obviously cryptic and needs understanding. So there's more. Yesterday, there's the more lights, hit them all there. Unless you don't want the lights on.
You want lights?
No, but I'm at oil. You hit them all twice. Okay. Let's continue. Mashin, that starts with his ben misper eser. Now, the fact of the end of the day, post Tzimtzum, it's only 10. Only 10. Like it says in Sefer Yitzira, es is 10, es is 10 and not 9, es 10, not 11. So how does this happen? This is through the Tzimtzum, because of the contraction, the veiling, the screening. The big chiddush now of this original quote, that even the mata is big vol. So the Tzimtzum appears to cause the light, this compromise in the oil. And now from the infinite, it's now radically compromised, and it's revealed with measure and limit. Therefore, there are 10 holes, and nonetheless, the achar tzimtzum, even after the tzimtzum is having mikol mokim, oil is bli gvul bli shiur. Infinite oilem are created without limit, without end. But the pasuk says in Shir Hashirim, they're describing the Eibush to him. There's 60 queens. No, 12 queens and 60 concubines. Actually says there, whatever it goes on the 12 descendants of Avram, 60 generations from Noach. That's the Pshudish Mikra. Zohar says it goes in the Masechta, 60 Masechtas, and Allah may say Mispar, and maidens without end. This is the king's the king's, what's the word I'm looking for? The king's harem. So Allah is in Mispah, and the young maidens without end says in Zohar, K'mayim barazah tikra alamos ela oilamos. Vatisham that goes on the descendants which followed after Noach. But the previous yonim, it's going on Eilamis and Eilamis Belishir. So Valamis in Mispah, the worlds without end. Shen Eilamis Belishir, Mispah Klal, worlds without she, without measure or number at all. This be the Rabbi, like he says in the Rabbi, also a section of the Zohar. The Golgalta, and the level of Golgalta, which is Kesser, the literally the skull, Yasve Teresa Alfe Almin. Literally, there sits 12,000 worlds. It's a number. This number says the it's a number 12 because it's relevant to the concept there. Number 12. We learned about the 12, the cube. There's 12 edges. At any rate, so that's only in the context. But the MS, he goes on to say, because this is a symbolic number that's relevant there for this level of Galgalta without going to the whole beard. We don't mean to define it to 12, it's the inyan of 12. These worlds, not 12,000, but in endless. Okay, this is talking about Kesser. What about here? The Zohar said, Lamata mata adin tachlis. So the Maimon continues, tracing the infinite expression and presence of the Ein Sof all the way down. So much so that even the lowest level of the Madregas Atzilis now. This is Mamish Ishtalshalis. What's the lowest level of Atzilis? It's what Bechinas Malchus Atzilos. Malchus creates also endless creations. Like we say, how manifold are your works, and how great are your deeds, your works. There's many and great. So it's saying that in creation, there's endless numbers of creation. And Mustami is hinting to also, we could add, and thanks to modern science, that at the core of all beings, the atoms, is endless energy. And this infinite force that binds everything. We'll leave this for the physicists, for Professor Brower. But l'chore, he means this too, that even in the Nivra, that's the Diyuk, Godla Masecha, that in the Riboy is the Godless. There's the infinite property within every detail of creation. Why? Because it's all created by the Eibishter, who creates the Ein Sof, which creates, and what it creates itself carries the properties of Ein Sof. Called Zeh Lefi Sha'ir Ein Sof a Bligvol, because the Eir is Bligvol. Even post Tzimtzum in Isavos Beli Mispargvol. The creation is likewise without number and limit. Okay, many questions I have. I'm sure you have as well. Let's begin the Rebbe's mind. Tavshin Chav Beis, which is what we're learning. This is the year we're learning. Both the GANI. So I've come to my garden, to my sister, the bride, he said, my brad medrash. The Baal Lula, the Fidig Rebbe, this Talkus Yuchvat explains based on the medrash. The medrash Bimkoimai is very interesting that in some years the Rebbe says Bimkoimai, and some years not. Here not. I think last year he did. The Fidig Rebbe adds in brackets Bimkoimai. You know why? But I told you, because the medrash appears in two places. It appears in the Bamidbar Rabbah, and it appears in Shir HaShirim. It's the same beer, for one difference. In Shir HaShirim, the author is Rabbi Menachem Chasnei, Rabbi Menachem, his son-in-law. And how many times he appears anywhere in Teresh Baal Peh, but he's definitely there, and it's astounding that the Fidig Rebbe did not give Mara Mekoimis. Didn't give Mara. The Rebbe used to give Mara Mekoimis. That was the bottom. Writes, which medrash do I need Mekoimis? What's the difference? It's the same Torah. It's one of the illusions of this Maimah to the Rashvi, to our Rebbe. At any rate, this year it doesn't put Mkoima. Anyway, so it's the Medrash says Legani. It doesn't just say to the garden, but Legani to my garden. Lignuni. Gnuni means my bridal chamber. Now, it's not clear how you go from Gan to Gnuni, but obviously there's an extra nun there. It's related, but the diik is mine. The mokim shoy ikri betchila. When you say I'm going to the garden or to the bridal chamber, I was never there before. We'll meet for the first time. If you say it's mine, I mean I was there. I left. I'm coming back. So this is the diuk that Olam Hazeh was a place where Hashem was found primarily the outside of creation. The Kishkin Tachtin, so the main Shechin was found down here. But through this in Silk, pushed back the Shechin from below to above. He reckons the Medrash to the 7 generations from the 7 sins from Adam till the generation of Mitzrayim, the Egyptians, and then and then the 7 tzaddikim, starting with Avraham, culminating with Moishe, Ad Moshe Rabbeinu, Roy and Neman shall call Yisrael. This does not say this lashon. The faithful shepherd of every Yitzhak Shvi is the 7th of Chol Hashvim Chavivim, and all 7 of the beloved. That's in the brackets of the previous of the Rebbe's Maimer. It's always central to the Rebbe's Maimer. Shimshis Chashchinim Beriki Aleph La'oretz. He finished the Hamshacha Moshe Rabbeinu, the 7th generation, and drew the Shechina from the first heaven back to earth. And this is the objective, this world. Be a dira for the Eibishter. However, what's happening now is a summary to Lois Yud base, right? In order that the Shekhinah remain permanently on the world, so immediately after the Shekhinah was drawn down to the world, which happened by Matan Torah, in order that the Shekhinah remain permanently present within creation, where the Eibishter commanded us. Make for me a mikdash, I'll dwell amongst you. The binyan mikdash and the mishkan, the mikdash ikri mishkan or mishkan ikri mikdash. Both the Beis Hamikdash is called the mishkan, but the mishkan is called the Beis Hamikdash. This is the Gemara native in Nemar. The details now of how we make the world ourselves a mishkan for Hashem. So what is the first instructions? The whole body of the Mishkan is the boards. You shall make the boards of the Mishkan atzei shitim b'im standing cedar wood. Baruch explains at length in the Maimon in the 3rd and 6th chapters. So we have to make these boards. So these very letters of the word keresh tell us the nature of the avodah, which is to take the sheker of the world and make it a keresh, a board, and a kesher, a bond with God, same letters. And the avoid is that you have to use the shittim word. Shittim is lashon shtuz, the kedusha, the folly of holiness is avoid shlamani metam v'das, and avoid beyond reason and beyond chesh mishadis and misaknim misashittim. This fixes the shtuz, the folly of lumazev, the opposite of kedusha. Because all sin is folly. A person wouldn't sin unless a spirit of foolishness, of folly, ended him and clouded his vision for that temporary moment. So how does he fix it? He fixes it through the avodah in kedusha of shtus the kedusha. If he made a calculation, he wouldn't do it. He didn't make a calculation. So what's the antidote? Not to make a calculation in kedusha, in avodah. And this is the whole purpose, is that there will be shtus the clipper, and the person will sin. And that way, is make a mishkan and shtus the kedusha, and thereby nishlama kavan least they did lizbarach b'tachtonim. That's interesting. It's usually liyas like. Yisbarach did it b'tachtonim, and here it's liyas did it b'tachtonim. There should be for him, blessed be a dira down here. The avodah zunases al yedei b'nei Yisrael. This avodah is done by Yidden. Kivu become mekayme, as explained in many places. Shadavka yedei b'nei Yisrael. Poilim hatere mitzvahs es polosa. Mitzvahs can't do it without Yidden. That's why I call this all a summary of the Maimon. I call Tzivus Hashem the host of Hashem Elosh and Tzova. Now Tzova Yesh Bagimel Pirushim has 3 Pirushim explains in the 10th chapter. Tzva Melosh Anchi Chayil soldiers. She Solim Anchi Chayil Mamalim Mashlim Essential Malam Chalach Makdish Baruch Hu Yid. Now the soldiers that fill and complete and carry out the will of the Eibishter. That's one Pirush. But Tzov Melosh Zman Mugbal and Tzov also means a set time. Which of course, what the pasuk says in the Iyab Ali Tzvol, and Ali Order says there is a set time for man upon the face of the earth. This what's the connection to that? That avoid is Kabbalah sell a soldier. What should you do? Do mitzvahs in a way of shekiyah mitzvahs, time. Engage the world with all its limitations, time and space. And kiyah mitzvahs. He has to do Torah mitzvahs, not disengage from the world, but in a way of invested Bagbalas as man in the limitations of time, and in brackets he adds space because they're bound lamata down here. That's a second pirush. That word has got to be every day, every moment in engaging the world. And finally, desire and beauty. And beauty is when there is a fusion, when there is a coming together of many colors, which conveys the idea of achdos. So that's how these skalalusam yachad didn't have to be together and complement and complete each other. So this is how Tzivus Hashem completes the kavanah. Vasili mikdash v'shachanti b'soicham. Make for mikdash not dwell amongst you. B'chol protei avoda, all of the details that are on the mishkan, k'fi shenasim mitzabnei solamata, as you can carry them out down here. Now the next ois he brings us to still further summary, and then ois beis. The Rebbe zeroes in on the ois yud beis. Which Be'ez Hashem tomorrow, friends. I know it's 6 o'clock, it's early, but we're leaving, God willing, for Australia on Monday. So I won't be learning, I'll be traveling for 2 days. We'll learn Wednesday morning, be Wednesday night for me there. So we have to learn Chazad Maimon Vites Kislev, learn this one, learn ahead.